Hey Zaka family! Zaka is launching an exclusive membership platform to provide you with career development workshops, coaching, community, and so much more. Go to ZakaConnect.com and sign up to receive information on how to access early registration and perks. Hello, everybody. This is Paul Herman, the Prince of Motivation and host of Zaka Presents My Journey. We're creating this vulnerable and positive platform where you get inspired and motivated from different leaders from our community. Today, our guest is Leah Arscott, who is an award-winning voiceover actress. Leah, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Yes. I obviously this is our first time actually having a voiceover actress on the actual show, and I know the listeners are definitely intrigued into hearing a little bit more about you and what you got going on over there. But before we dive into that, if you could give us a little bit more of a background on yourself and your family and where you guys are from.
Yeah, so my mom and dad are from Jamaica. They're born and raised
Mm,
in Kingston.
yes, it's true.
And they grew up with a wonderful life there, but in the 70s or so, they decided to come to Canada to pursue education. And so they actually met at a mutual friend's wedding back in Jamaica. So they didn't even know that they both lived here in Toronto, but they did. And yeah, so they've been here since, in the early 70s. And I was born and raised here with my two older sisters. And we grew up in Toronto,
Hmm.
Ontario, Canada, in the Great White North.
Hmm.
And it was lovely. It was lovely growing up here and a nice place to live.
Mm. So you're saying that both your parents are Jamaican and you
Yes.
were born in Canada.
Yes.
Did you see a connection or or make a connection to the Caribbean culture at growing up while you were in Canada?
Yes, absolutely. So my parents try their best to maintain their heritage in regards to food and the
Yes,
way
you
discipline.
can, yes, you can. Yeah, the Caribbean people, which I know a lot of the guests on the show have always talked about if they had Caribbean parents, how
Oh yeah.
strict they were on the come up.
Yes, absolutely. So that was definitely very important. And just, we had friends like my mom and dad had friends also from their high school who came to Canada. So growing up, we did spend a lot of time with them and, parties in the house, in the basement, good music, good food. It was just a wonderful time.
Mm. And if you could kind of just give I want to say the Jamaican culture in a nutshell, like what is that life? What is that lifestyle like?
Yeah, well, it's very British. It is a British colony. So both my mom and dad went to school with nuns and priests and the whole thing. So they had a very strict upbringing, strict education policy, and that's kind of what happened. That kind of was the way it's supposed to be with my sisters as well. They were very strict with schooling and being home at certain times and not being out in the streets at certain times. So yeah, my parents were, they were very protective of us, and I'm very grateful for that. We had a very good upbringing, and our faith was very important to us too. So we would be, at our kingdom halls during the week, on the weekend, preaching to those in the community, and just spending, trying to do as much volunteer work as we could.
Hmm. Now, could you tell us a little bit more about your childhood and some of the lessons and qualities that your parents obviously taught to you on the come up?
Yeah, so definitely just again, very, have a lot of self-respect for ourselves and for others. So we grew up, having to be very polite and having very good manners and good table manners. So that's something that was very important to my mom and dad as well. Cleanliness, doing our chores and staying organized. That was very important. And again, our faith was very important as well. So all those things combined, education. So yeah, there wasn't really room for for a lot of air, which is okay. Again, it's all we knew, so it's okay. But my mom and dad were all about having fun too.
I
If
mean,
we
the
did
Caribbean
well,
culture, you know?
yeah, if we did well in school, they rewarded us with gifts and with presents, etc. Nowadays, I feel like kids have a lot more than we did back then. Life was more simple back then. They didn't have so much to give to us, but we didn't know any better. There wasn't really any, family vacations, right? They were immigrants, so our holidays were going to like Niagara Falls. You know, there was, in my class, there was a lot of kids going to Myrtle Beach and all over, but I think we went to Jamaica once or twice, but it was just road trips and that kind of thing. But it was a great childhood.
Now, obviously, the tradition from Jamaica, Canada, obviously, you didn't go to Jamaica, but did you feel like you're still connected to your Caribbean heritage, not just by your parents, but like in the area that you were located? Did you feel like you were connected?
We did grow up north of the city in the suburbs, so there really wasn't that much culture back then. I'm talking like in the 90s. So, yeah, in my school there was like a couple Jamaican families, there was like some Cambodian families, but we all kind of hung out together, you know. But no, it was different back then. I would say now where I live in the suburbs of Toronto, it's much more diverse and much more multicultural. But again, it didn't really affect me growing up. There was one incident when I was younger where a kid in my school did call me a bad name. I guess I was in his way, and a bad word came out. And I think I was 12 or so, and I was like, "Ooh, okay, I know that's a bad word, and he should not have called me that." So I ran over to my teacher and let them know. And the kid got in so much trouble. I got taken to the principal's office, and so did he. And my principal just reamed him out for quite a while about racism and calling, bad words and everything. And he opened up his drawer and gave me so much candy.
Mm, mm.
So that would probably be the only kind of incident that I had growing up. But other than that, everybody was very, very, very inclusive, which was nice.
Now, I'm sorry that that incident even happened. And I know that obviously as a young adult coming up, things like that could truly affect you. How'd you mentally get back on track after something like that? Because something like that could scar you for life. How'd you
Yeah.
grow from that situation?
No, just having a very strong family dynamic, I think helps. My mom instilled a lot of confidence in us girls growing up. And again, just having self-respect for ourselves and our beliefs. It didn't really phase me too much. I knew he was the problem, not me. And I just kind of just kept going full steam ahead. And if I saw anything like that happen to others, I always had their back.
Mm,
But no, it was okay. One thing I will say is it's not so bad here. It wasn't so bad growing up. I know others have been through a lot worse, but I just kept moving forward. Always back, never, always forward, never back.
okay, okay, I like that. Look, okay, you better preach, girl. Come on now. Now, obviously, growing up as a child and dealing with that experience, did you, on your first years of conquering your career, do you feel like you any of those types of challenges?
um, Growing up, starting my career, I didn't pursue. It was very ingrained in us to pursue university, and that is not the course I took. I did take some part-time college courses, etc. It's expensive to go to school, and so my dad's thinking was, you know what, just try to get in with a good company and they'll pay for your education. And it did work. It worked. Now things are a little bit different. I'm kind of aging myself, but yeah, I did get a job right away out of school working in the corporate world. And um it was nice. There was great I worked for great companies, nice companies. Challenges I had at work, I did have one incident where I was bullied at work, actually. I was working for a great company, but there was just this girl in particular and a few of her friends that just, I don't know what it was, but it was just, they did not like me and there was nothing I could do about it. And it went on for a couple of years, actually, and I had to get
Wow.
HR involved, and they made my time there just horrendous. But that was probably one of the hardest things I ever had to go through. But with a lot of prayer and time and efforts, I decided to leave that job and find something else to do.
Mm,
Sometimes, you can't win, and you just have to accept when it's time to move on.
mm. Now,
So, mhm.
during that time period, did you feel like you had someone to kind of lean to, talk to, or I mean, obviously, I know sometimes people go to the supervisors, but being bullied and in that situation, how did you kind of overcome that?
Yeah, so I relied on my husband quite a bit. There was times I would come home and just be so upset and angry, and he would just hug me, and I'd be on, feeling just awful about the whole situation. So definitely he helped. My mom helped a lot. I love having her so close. She's just a phone call away and she would say, it's not you, they're the problem, So that was really nice as well. And just, having the back of my supervisor who said she totally had my back as well. So just having a strong support system was amazing. And again, just sometimes you can't win with people and you have to just move on. And it's okay because I'm happy that I did because I've never been happier, in my career. So when
And
things
I
happen like that, it just have to keep moving forward.
and I know that obviously you mentioned about the whole corporate America and that experience, and then you kind of like took a whole different road, a whole different avenue, becoming a voiceover actress. But before we go into that, could you tell us a little bit more about what was some of the things that you learned from corporate America that kind of helped you in the next phase of your career?
Yes. So I did work in multiple industries. I've worked in technology, insurance, health, and government. And definitely it provided the foundation of where I am now in my career. I don't think I could be where I am if I didn't learn what I learned there. So I learned to be professional. I learned to speak up. I learned how to speak in front of a crowd. I learned to be hardworking, to be the hardest working person in the room, how to stay organized. I also actually used to compete in fitness and health competitions when I was younger, and I won a few of them, including a national competition. I won a car, some spokesperson opportunities, and so it's not easy to win those kinds of challenges. And so just keeping my head down and keep staying organized and consistent is probably the most important thing. Success is really, I think I heard a saying that said it's only 5% luck and 95% hard work and consistency. So I fully agree with that.
I'm a firm believer in that. I know that I always talk about it all the time, and then people know consistency leads to victory at the end of the day.
I
So
like
as
that.
long as you're consistent, whatever the victory is, small or large, it's definitely gonna come. But you just have to consistency. It'll lead to it. Now I know that you're a voice over actress. Like, how did you get the inspiration to like go from corporate America into that?
That's a really cool story, an interesting story. So I have been working in the corporate world many years, very happy. I had a job that I really wanted at work. I got that job, and then I still wasn't happy. And I was like, man, am I ever going to be happy? Because this is the job I've been trying to get for years, and I got it, and something's still missing. So around that time, this is probably what 2017 or so. In my faith-based community group, there was a call out to be in an orchestra. So I used to play the clarinet back in high school. It's been many years, but I thought to myself, you know what? This could be a good opportunity to do something creative. So, because I grew up playing music a lot, quite a bit in school. Anyway, I picked up back the clarinet. I auditioned. I got accepted in this orchestra. It was one of the greatest experiences of my life. We got to play at this beautiful venue in Toronto where the National Ballet of Canada performs. Many musical artists have performed there. It was just one of the greatest experiences. And so when that was finished, I thought to myself, no, I all this creativity just came flooding back after all these years. Because when you get older, the idea is that you just kind of subside all that creative, you know, creative juices and just get into the business world. So I thought to myself, no, this is crazy. I still want to do something. Anyway, so I was looking for a side hustle and I made a long list of side hustles. And my list included
A long list of side hustles. That's the new one, guys. That's the new one.
I'm telling
You
you.
gotta. I respect that. It's not even like you just said, let me just do what my friends are doing. I'm gonna make my own list of side hustles. So I respect that.
Absolutely. And I feel like every millennial has a side hustle nowadays anyway. So, it included eyelashes, baking cakes. So what could I do? Selling Arbonne. I'm not quite sure. So I had a long list of side hustles. And one of my good friends, Tasha, shout out to Tasha, she knew that I was interested. And so she sent me a message at work one day and she said, hey girl, I heard about this cool thing you can do from home. It's voiceover. I thought, voiceover? What? No way. So she gave me the website. I logged on and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is cool. And the fact that I can do it from home was greater because I don't have time to go, into the city, into studios. Like, how does that even happen? I have a full-time job. So I did a lot of research for a few months and I spoke to my husband about it. And he's like, okay, here we go. Every fall you want to take a course or learn something, and he's like, Leah, take your time, really think about it. And I'm like, no, no, this is money coming in. This is not money going out. So I did my research, a lot of research. And I think it was Black Friday 2018. Woke up, went to the music store. I had a list of what I needed to get started, all my tech. And luckily he's techie. So he set me up, came home, put it all together, and I really didn't know what I was doing, but I bought a membership on a casting website where you can see all these voiceover auditions, and I just jumped in, 2 feet like head first, really.
Mhm, mhm. So you're able to work remotely. I mean, there's auditions all over the world if that's the case. So
Yes,
you're able just to submit at any point in time.
absolutely.
That's definitely a luxury. Do you have kids as well?
I do not have children. I have 2 fluffy cats, which take up a lot of my time. But, yeah, no, I really can make my own schedule, and that was really important to me too, was to be my own boss and make my own schedule, and that's what I do, and
Mm.
it's so good. I love it.
Now, thinking about this right now, I'm a voiceover actress. I mean, I know a lot of the Caribbean culture back, back in the time when your parents are coming up, they knew nothing of that stuff,
Mhm.
voiceover actress. How did you kind of like convey that over to your parents and can kind of convince them that like this is something that you're gonna do?
Yeah, well, working the last place I worked was a great it was, for the government, and the idea that you have to have a strong backing of education was really ingrained. And so when I was working, I saw a lot of girls coming in after me with no experience, but they just came out with the paper, and they were scooping up different jobs and things. And I thought to myself, man, like, it's in order for me to get ahead, I would have to work so much longer in my specific roles to even qualify. So the fact that I can make my own money, and the ceiling was really unlimited, was something that was really interesting to me. So my parents have always known I've been very creative. My sisters and I danced growing up. I did drama in school. I won a couple awards in drama class, and music and stuff like that. So I think the creativity part kind of it's on my mom's side. Like, my sister can sing beautifully as well. So I don't know. I think it's just kind of somewhere there.
Hmm.
So I thought to
So if
myself, mhm,
okay, because I know how some, like you said, the Caribbean culture very strict. You got to get this education, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm in corporate America. You got a full time job, and you're like, you know what, I'm switching it to voiceover actress. So that
hmm.
I can understand, like maybe there was like that little bit of a self doubt, or even it's not your family members kind of even saying, well, could this actually work out?
Yeah, no, my parents were totally cool. They were very, very supportive. They knew that I really gave it a full go at corporate America, and they just said at this point they just want me to be happy. They could
Mhm.
tell that I know that I lacked that joy that I once had. And life's all about being in different stages, and this was just the next stage to do something that I really wanted to do and make my own schedule, so I could spend time, doing what I love to do, which is volunteering in the community, and just doing something that having more time for myself and my family. And so
Mhm.
they were very, very supportive.
Now, could you tell us a little bit about that first breakthrough for you, that transition from your job, to becoming like a business owner and becoming a full time voiceover actress?
Yeah, so the breakthrough really started actually during COVID. So I started in November 2018 as a side hustle. I was still working full time. And every evening I would actually come home on my lunch break and I would audition as many auditions as I could, make a quick lunch and go back to work. And after work, I would come home and do more auditions again all night. And
Mm,
I was seeing minimal success. But really, what happened was in March of 2020, my stable job called me and said, okay, there's a pandemic happening. So unfortunately, all your projects have been canceled. And I thought to myself, what? And they're like, yeah, sorry, there's just no more work right now. So I turned to my husband and I'm like, I cannot believe this. This is supposed to be a stable job, or, seriously. And so I said to him, well, it's now or never. It's sink or swim. This is the time to really pursue voice acting. I have to make this a thing. This needs to be, I have to have stable income. We have no choice. We're homeowners, there's bills to pay. We have to do this. And so with a lot of prayer and a lot of hard work, I decided to just really, really audition day in, day out. I got a voiceover coach. He was an amazing coach. He helped me. We cut a demo together, and literally, as soon as that demo came out, within 3 weeks, everything changed.
Mm, mm. But you obviously you have a really good mentor at that point in time to kind of coach you through those things.
Yes. So this particular voiceover coach, he's award winning. I did a lot of research to find him, and wasn't even sure if he was going to work with me. To be honest, I was pretty nervous reaching out to him, but he heard a little bit of what I've done up to that point, and he saw something and said, "You know what? I'd like to coach you." And it was amazing. And I really thank him for so much because he taught me what I needed to know. And so between him and between my voiceover demo producer, they made a really nice demo, and I put it online, and it changed. Everything changed within 3 weeks. I started to see some numbers I'd never seen before. And
Mm.
it was nice, especially during the pandemic.
Oh yes, of course. I mean, everyone knows about the various different seasons in life. Obviously we got our seasons. Winter, spring, summer, and fall. But sometimes people think that in the wintertime you can't be successful. It's hard. It's cold. It's no one's outside. But if you find a platform, you find a little avenue, a little lane, you can kind of run with it. And as you can see, you did it. During a time where you could obviously work remotely, and it worked out in your favor. Now, going from corporate America to now being into this full time, voiceover actress, I would assume at some point in time there was some type of fears, especially making that transition, and also launching your own business. Like, could you talk about some of those fears or those challenges that you had to kind of like navigate through?
Yeah, absolutely. So leaving a stable job was terrifying. It was not easy. It was something I had. Oh, it's the golden handcuffs. It's something that I always was stable. I knew what was coming in every couple of weeks. It was, I'd been there quite a long time, so I had a reputation. I had friends. I had coworkers who believed in me and nice people to work with. So it wasn't like it was a terrible place to work. It was a lovely place to work, But this opportunity came up, and I really just had to go for it. So yeah, I had a lot of fears. It was a very anxious time, and we all know in the pandemic nobody knew what was around the corner. We didn't know what was happening. There was a lot of uncertainty. And so there was a lot of fears, but I just had to keep waking up, putting my head down, trusting in the process, and surrounding myself with good mentors, and having that faith, and having my husband and my family support. And, it wasn't an overnight success. It's very slow progress, but, a small goal here, a small goal there. And before you know it, it turned into something nice.
Now, I know some of the listeners that don't know what a voice over actress does. Could you express a little bit more about your industry, and can you elaborate about like the different opportunities that are out there for individuals like yourself?
hmm So, voice acting is not new. It's been around for many, many years, but it's become very popular in the last 10 years or so because of social media, because everything's now gone digital. So, in the olden days, people used to have agents and relied on agents for their income, and they would get opportunities and have to travel into studios, Chicago, New York, Los Angeles, a little bit of Toronto. But with the digital age, now there are many casting websites. So basically, we're all independent entrepreneurs, self employed. It's broken out into non union and union actors. Union used to be where all the good good jobs were, but things have really been shifting. You can do very, very well being non union as well. And there's different methods of finding business. So one of which I've mentioned is casting websites. You pay for a membership. It's called pay and play websites, and you get the auditions emailed to your email, and you can spend your time all day long auditioning. You can get different agents to represent you and send you jobs. You can do your own self marketing. And there's multiple genres for voiceover. There's audiobooks, corporate narration. There are commercials on television or web or radio. There is IVR, which is telephone stuff. So, hi, welcome to Verizon. Press one for English, press two for Spanish. There is e-learning. There's promo, which is when you turn on TV on a station and they say coming up next week on this show. That's promo work. And there's also in-show narration. So documentaries on Netflix or documentaries on HGTV, any of those, House Hunters International, there's a voice speaking. So there's a lot of opportunities and it's just getting bigger and bigger.
Mm. And it is amazing how the voiceovers have been in our lives for so many years, but we're not really paying attention to it until like now.
Absolutely.
Like the amount of times a voiceover. I'm thinking about like even going to the movie theaters, and it's like, oh, the exits are right on the right and the left side of you. Go visit our concession stand. People are just watching the movie, but at the end of the day, that individual is getting paid to speak and to say exactly what those lines were. And
Absolutely. Self
I
checkout as well.
yeah, so the self checkout aisle is right here. Now, have you ever been? I'm asked this question. Have you ever been in a situation where like you actually heard your voice, like at random, like you were just like you were at a supermarket and your voice came popping up in aisle five?
Yeah, actually, the last few months, there's been a couple spots that I've heard that caught me off guard. So one of them was I was watching CNN the day when the war broke out in Europe. Everybody was glued to the TV that day, and it was on 24/7 in my house. And my husband and I were watching, and then it cuts to commercial, and every now and again, I'm always kind of listening on TV to see what's booking, millennial, raspy voice, conversational. And I hear this commercial and I'm like, okay, yeah, okay, I get it, I get it. And then I said to myself, wait a second, I recognize that script. I think I auditioned. Wait, that's me. So that was kind of
Oh,
cool.
that's what's up. That's what's
So
up.
yeah. And then actually a few weeks ago, we went to Turks and Caicos, my husband and I and a couple of friends, and it was a very early morning. We're on the plane, we're taxiing, ready for takeoff. And the security video, safety video comes on about seatbelts and all the thing. And as soon as it was over, this ad came on, and my husband turned to me and he goes, "Isn't that you?" And I don't know how he remembered or recognized my voice. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, that is me." So that was kind of cool
Mm.
too. So
Now
it happens
you
every now and again.
so in this time frame, you've worked with several different Fortune 500 companies. Could you tell us about some of the projects? I mean, you just kind of talked about it right there, but like talk about like some of the projects that you worked on.
Yeah, yeah. So I've worked for some big companies. Of course, some of the biggest ones I can't talk about.
Ah,
That's
yes, that is correct. We in the
always
industry,
happens.
you can't be talking about everything.
Yeah. So there's a couple of big tech ones that everyone knows, but yeah. So I can't talk about those, but I'm sure you know. Also Amazon and Air Jordan. I've worked for who else? BMW. Yeah, BMW, VW, Interac, some of the beer companies like Guinness and Michelob Ultra.
Oh, your catalog is very diverse, young lady.
Cool. It was nice. Air Jordan, that was a really fun one, actually.
Did you get a
Yeah.
pair of Air Jordans at the end of this?
No, I've never got anything free. I keep trying, but it's
I'm about to say, come on, you out here giving them your whole vocals and they're not giving you a pair of sneakers.
it's okay. I get compensated, so
Yeah, that's true.
that's
You
what
could
I
buy a
get.
couple. You could buy a couple sneakers with that check. But I
All
hey,
good.
look, I like that. Like, when did you realize that you were doing a great job? Like, when did you realize that like this is like I'm actually successful?
I mean, I'm still slowly getting there. That's something, it's you struggle with imposter syndrome. I definitely have that for sure. It's been 3.5 years, but I still wake up like, wait, what am I doing? Like, am I supposed to be here? But I think when things started to really change was when I started to get agents, you know. That's kind of when I kind of noticed, oh, okay, so somebody believes in me. So I'm not just going out this with no idea. So the first agent I got in Toronto, I was over the moon, and then slowly but surely, the agents in the US start coming, and just having coaches and coaches giving you good feedback is always helpful. And then I was so grateful enough to win a couple of awards, and so I think that helps as well. But it's a daily thing. It's not like every day I wake up like, yeah, let's do it. There's days where I'll audition and nothing comes through, and I'm like, oh gosh, okay, here we go. Well, here we are. And my husband's like, don't worry, Leah, just keep going because it's 90% rejection, really.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
you were 100% right. You're right. You're right about 90. And I'm glad you're saying those numbers to the listeners because I feel like that's very important that people understand that, like, yeah, you got to go through 90% no's before you get that
Mhm.
10% yes. And even after the 10% yes, that's a yes to make it to the next round. It's not even
That's
like
right.
you got booked for the job. So I'm glad you're able to express that and let people know that even though you are very successful at what you do, there's a significant amount of no's. So I appreciate you being vulnerable and letting people know that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's you need to have a strong skin in this a thick skin because if you get down, if you put through 10 auditions and nothing comes through, that's okay. Just keep going, and something will stick. There's a lot of good people I've listened to, podcasts and celebrities over the years who've given some great advice. And one person I always admire is Dwayne Johnson. I always,
Hmm.
he started with $7 in his pocket or whatever, however little it was, but he was able to make something out of nothing. And so I have a lot of different quotes and, inspirational things around my office when I'm having those days where I'm just feeling so this is not happening, I can just look at those and dig deep and just keep putting one foot forward and eventually something sticks.
Hmm. Now you've won a couple of awards right now. When I was looking at the bio, I was like, look, we need to talk about some of these awards here. Could you express some of the awards that you have won over the many years? I know that one of the big ones is in 2020. Could you talk about that?
Um, yeah, so there's a website that I have a membership on, and they have different awards each year. And I was very, very grateful enough to get the People's Choice favorite demo of the year. I'm still kind of like shook about that. I don't know how that happened, but when I got the email that I'd won, I'm like, "Are you sure?" But it was really cool. It was nice, and so they sent me a nice little gift in the mail. And then I did get an award last year for the Telly Awards. That was great. I had no idea about that one, but I worked on this project for Guinness Beer with this great director named Blake Farber. He's a really awesome guy, and we worked on this small project together. And then he just, hit me up and said, "Hey, we won an award together." So that was pretty great. And I won another award last year for a voice acting competition. I did a little demo. I had to do an audition and I had to get creative. So I used my cat. We did an audition together, and I guess someone liked it because I was able to get a little award for that too. So that was fun.
Mhm. Now, winning all these awards, I'm assuming at that point your family members are very proud of you, and seeing that these accolades are, starting to you come to fruition. Like you're like, okay, look, it's actually making sense. But you even mentioned it, you're like, you're still in that phase where you're like a little bit of self doubt, a little bit.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's
Yeah.
I feel like that's something that a lot of artists, kind of, go through in their career where they could be amazing by so many different people, but we are our hardest critics.
Absolutely. And I mean, actors, anybody in their fields, they're always learning, they're always training, they're always coaching, they're always, I think if you get to the point where you think you know everything, that's probably the worst thing. You're really just robbing yourself of so much more to learn. So I never stop learning, never stop coaching, never stop taking courses. I always want to perfect my craft, and there's so much more to go. There's so much more time to go and people to work with and things to learn. So for me, education is really a lifetime. It'll never stop.
Hmm. Now, you mentioned a couple of like things that you would recommend for someone trying to be in this industry. You mentioned about a few websites. Like, what are some of those things, websites, or something that you would recommend for someone trying to look to get into something like this?
Yeah, so a really great resource at the top of my head I can think of. It kind of has a funny name, but it's called gravyforthebrain.com. And that is a wonderful voiceover network with so many tutorials and mentors and voice actors on there, coaches, resources, videos, just you name it, it's there. And that's probably one of the greatest resource out there. There's also even on YouTube, if you just type in voice acting, you get a lot of good information on how to get started. Um, as well, there's different conferences you can attend. There's VO North, there's VO Atlanta, there's some good ones out in England. Anywhere in the world, there's usually a group of people who get together and talk all things voiceover. And so Now that things are kind of easing up with the pandemic, I look forward this summer to connecting with some voice actors and actually, seeing them face to face, and so we can talk all things voiceover.
Mm. And when it comes down to like the certain type of characteristics or skills that someone should someone in a sense have or work on to stay in this business, what do you think if you could give three main ones?
Yeah, actually, I just wrote a blog about this on my website, so check that out. But I get this question a lot. I have a lot of people weekly coming to me and saying, "Hey, how do I get into this? How do I get into this?" And so I thought to myself, I'm just going to write an article about it. So it'll all be outlined there. But basically, it comes down to, I would say, business ability above anything else. More so than artistic ability or talent, it's business ability.
Ability.
So, business, just knowing how to be organized, how to do invoicing, how to collect money, how to, do marketing, how to send out nice emails, how to follow up with clients. Business number one above anything else. Number two, I would say artistic ability. I mean, you have to have some sort of, talent in order to do voiceover because it's really acting. Even if you're doing
Mhm.
a corporate narration, it's you have to sound like you're not reading, and you have to be a character. You have to always ask yourself, who am I, where am I, and who am I speaking to? And so some days it's difficult, and if you're tired, you're just not feeling it. But I have to dig deep. Okay, who am I? Who am I talking to? Et cetera, et cetera. And I would say the third skill would be technical ability. So there is quite a bit of, editing and software and hardware and tech involved. And so that's not that hard to learn though, but it is definitely ability. There's days where I'm always, saying to my husband, help, help, this thing doesn't work anymore. And then he
Mhm.
runs upstairs and helps me out. So that's probably my worst one is tech. But
Yeah,
luckily he's a good resource.
I could assume you need like a whole bunch of microphones and padded, and you got to find the right room to do these
Yeah.
voiceovers.
Yes, absolutely. You have to have a quiet space in your home. Many voice actors get started in the closet. That's where I got started. It was not cute. It was super ghetto. It was hot and it was embarrassing, but you know what? It helped me. It helps me leave my full-time job. So I will not knock it.
Yeah, nah, look, you leave your full-time job to do this and be successful. And obviously you had so many great perks and benefits working in corporate America, but to leave it and to go into this is even and to make this actually be something more loving and caring that you like doing. Like you wake up and you're like, oh, I get to do exactly what I want to do every single day. So that is a blessing. What is some of the like your key goals that you have in your career and your business?
Yes, yes, and actually, just to add to what you were just saying, I just always think to myself that I'm so grateful for this, and I always remind myself why I'm grateful. And I think, sometimes in the morning, again, if I'm having a down day, I'll just say to myself, okay, think of three things why I'm grateful. I'm grateful for this, this, and this, and then I just say a prayer and just jump out of bed and go right to my booth. So I would say, oh, sorry, what was your question? Oh, some
Or like
goals in
your
my
goals?
career.
Yeah,
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 sorry.
yeah,
Yeah,
your goals.
absolutely. So my goals are to just maintain a steady career and business and income and continue growing it each year. Um, what else are my goals? I would love to narrate a documentary. So I'm actually coaching right now with this great coach named Tom Pinto. You can check him out. He's done stuff on the History Channel, and he's a wonderful coach. And so I'm gonna be doing an in-show narration demo with him shortly. So that would be a goal of mine to do like I love documentaries. So any subject is good with me. I love music, so maybe a music biography about an
Mhm,
artist, Whitney
mhm.
Houston. I'm not quite sure. The Beatles, anything. I love just music, so that would be really cool for me. Probably to be the voice of a major company would be great, and I would love to travel for work. I'm still waiting. If I could fly out to LA or New York and do some sort of project, that would be amazing. I would love that. And my husband actually, he speaks Spanish. He is of Spanish descent. So he's been getting some work too lately.
Oh,
So
he's
we're
into voiceover as well.
well, kind of by not by choice, kind of like the client needs this. Can you jump in my booth and do it for me?
Oh,
So
wow.
I am kind of kicking myself that I haven't learned. I did take lessons for 6 months, but he always reminds me, if you spoke Spanish, you could double your income. And I'm like, I don't have time for that. But for him, it's good. So yeah, he's been booking quite a few things lately. So yeah, if I could help grow him on the side, that would be great as well.
Have you had to use your Jamaican culture, speaking patois, in any of these voiceovers?
Yes, I have. I have spoken in patois, and I do speak a bit of Spanish. So I have booked Spanish work, accented work, and I've done, I have a bit of I guess I can do some accents. Growing up in Toronto, it's very multicultural. So the ones where I feel comfortable, and I don't want to misappropriate myself, but the ones where I do feel comfortable doing, yes, I have done those. Hmm.
Mhm. Okay, look at that. Using your culture to kind of help you get above and
Yes.
get above. Now, how can people find you and get a hold of you? I know you have a website, you have a company. Tell us a little bit more about how to make that happen.
Yeah. So my website is leahvoiceover.com. And on there, you can hear my demos and my client list and some blogs about how to get started into voiceover and some tips and tricks on how to pick out microphones and tech. So each week, I'm trying to, put out an article or two to help the community. And as well, my Instagram, I'm there, Leah Voiceover. I'm on YouTube as well. So yeah, check me out, hit me up. It's all good. Let's collaborate. Oh, and if any
Like,
companies are out there and need a voice, you can.
that's right. You better come on now. You better get that. Come on. Now, I know that as you know, Zaka is a platform and a community designed to for helping immigrants to advance in their career, and expand their knowledge of their industry, right?
Amazing.
What are some of the what have I want to say, if someone wants to conquer the voiceover industry or have a, a good intro in, what would you recommend as an advice?
Hmm. What I will say, first of all, is that actually, when I worked for the government, I actually was in charge of setting up one of the biggest conferences in Ontario for newcomers. And that was the job that I really, really wanted. And I had a great time doing it. And so I really respect what you guys are doing. It's a lot of hard work, but I'll tell you, for a lot of newcomers coming to Canada, I saw the struggles they went through. They came with their education and their skills, and they were not able to get in the careers that they wanted. So it was hard for them. And so we were trying to really connect people as much as they could. So yeah, shout out to you guys. A lot of respect goes to you guys for doing this,
Mhm.
because it's a lot of hard work, but I'm sure the community is very, very grateful. So I would say, if you really want to get into voiceover, get training is the most important thing. And just, dig deep. If you have that entrepreneur spirit, that ability, go for it. And even if you don't have it, you can get it. Because I never thought in a million years I would ever be self-employed and be a business owner. Never in a million years. I thought I would be just working for a company until I retire, but that inner passion, that drive just came out until it was just bubbling forth, and I had to do something with it. So get your training, and definitely get on the online, and just Google it. And if it
Mhm.
seems interesting to you, let that happen. Just make that happen.
Well, Leah, I just want to say again, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule because I know you could be auditioning right now, to kind of speak to us about your journey. Letting us know about your heritage and where your family has come from. I'm so blessed to have another individual of Caribbean descent, because I'm Caribbean as well. My parents are also from Jamaica as well.
Oh,
Portland, Jamaica.
bloodline.
Yeah, don't know, sister. Yes, my mother's from Portland, Jamaica, and my
Oh,
father's from
nice.
St. Lucia, Castries. So
Oh,
when
beautiful.
I see our Caribbean culture always advancing in so many different ways, and in industries that probably weren't looked at to be something that was going to be profitable, at some point in time in our lives and our career, if our family's lives, to see you doing it, it's a blessing. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you again for sharing so much information about how to get into the
No problem.
industry, the websites as well, and some of those names that you dropped as well, to kind of give people
Yeah.
some information to look up. So
Oh, I have to mention one more thing. I
yes.
totally forgot to mention this. The voiceover industry is looking for diverse talent. more than ever right now. So they're looking for people who speak different languages, people with different accents, people who are diverse. If you watch tonight, go on TV, look at the commercials, you'll hear more diverse voices than ever.
I'm
So
with you on that.
yeah,
I could
now's the
sense
time.
that coming. So whether you Portuguese, Dominican, Puerto Rican, Jamaican,
Hmm.
St. Lucian, just
They
wherever
need
you're coming
you.
from, they need you more than
Yeah.
ever. So, and with the different languages as well too, I feel like that's always a beautiful thing.
Oh yeah,
When you're
it's
able to
growing.
kind of cross into different markets, because you could say the same thing in English and say the same thing in Patois and say the same thing in Spanish, and you
Hmm.
have three different opportunities right there and possibly three different checks.
There you go.
So, Leah, thank you, thank you, thank you again. To the listeners, if you want to hear more stories like Leah, check us out on ZakaConnect.com or follow our feed Zaka wherever you listen to your podcasts. Leah, enjoy, and I look forward to
Thank you.
hearing you on the radio or TV or even in that movie theater one of these
Oh,
days.
that would be good. Take care. Thanks, guys.
Yes, Leah, thank you so much.